Hi everyone, welcome back to Hope and Coffee, where we are actually going to go back just a little bit to a book that I read in July that apparently I forgot to do a review for. I had it on my list and went back, kind of had a bit of a deja vu, thinking that I had done a review and video for it, and I hadn't. So, with all due respect to Kate Quinn, I am doing an episode on the Briar Club. Now, if you Google the Briar Club, you will actually see that the Briar Club is a real thing. However, this book, it is not related to that club. So these are completely different things from what I can tell. This particular Briar Club is related to a group of women, a group of female friendship in a boarding house in Washington, D.C. during kind of what they call the McCarthy era, according to the Goodreads blurb. So let me dive into the summary for you all, and we will go from there. The Briar Club by Kate Quinn released on July 9th, which is why I thought I had already done a review for you guys. And it is supposedly a haunting and powerful story of female friendship and secrets in the Washington, D.C. boarding house during the McCarthy era. So during 1950, Washington, D.C., everyone keeps to themselves in the Briarwood house. So see, that's where kind of we get the Briar Club from. A down-at-the-heels, all-female boarding house in the heart of the nation's capital, where secrets hide behind the white picket fences. But when the lovely, mysterious widow Grace March moves into the attic, she draws her oddball collection of neighbors into unlikely friendship. Poised English beauty Fliss, whose facade of perfect wife and mother covers gaping inner wounds. Police officer's daughter Nora, who is entangled with a shadowy gangster. Frustrated baseball star B, whose career has ended along with the Women's Baseball League of World War II. And poisonous gung-ho Arlene, who has threatened to throw herself into McCarthy's Red Scare. Grace's weekly attic room dinner parties and brewed sun tea has become a healing balm on all their lives. But as she hides a terrible secret of her own, when a shocking act of violence tears apart the house, the Briar Club women must decide once and for all who is a true enemy in their midst. So, let's kind of I'll start with kind of the benign parts of this little summary. The sun-brewed tea is actually a little bit of a cute little aside, because I actually remember I grew up in the South. I grew up in Louisiana, and I remember my grandmother putting a specific pitcher. She would put the tea bags in there and the water in there, put the lid on, and she would take that whole pitcher and she'd put it in the front yard where the sun would be at its peak for the longest part of the day. And so around like 11 or noon, she'd go out there and she'd put it out there. And so right before dinner, she'd go out there and she'd bring it in and the tea would be ready. And that's when she would bring it in and she'd put in copious amounts of sugar. And because in the South, it is sweet. Sweet to hurt your teeth, and it is iced. So once that warm tea hits that cold ice, you hear all the cracking of the ice. But it was always something super comforting. I can't drink it that sweet now, but oh my goodness, like just knowing that Grace was making sun tea like that always kind of gave me this very comforting vibe when it popped up in the story. So I think that's kind of one of those things, that healing balm sort of atmosphere that was created as the story progressed. Because Grace comes in, the others are already in the house, in the boarding house, and she really kind of blows in like a fresh breeze. The owner of the house, she's a little abrasive. She's very much a penny pincher. The husband of the house has gone, and so she's renting out her rooms in order to make ends meet. The son, I think his name is Peter, Pete, he is trying his best to kind of pick up odds and end job to help his mom, but he's also not doing the greatest. Like, I mean, he's just struggling because he's also in a house full of women, and so he kind of feels a little like an outcast as well. He has a sister in the house who's also kind of an outcast, and so this group of women in the house is kind of the only family that Pete and his sister have. And so we kind of go from there. And as the scene really opens, is we have walked into a scene of Grace March has been somehow killed, and we are trying to figure out what has happened. And we actually have the perspective of the house itself. The house, though not animate, is expressing these sorts of feelings of like it doesn't want people to leave. It is mourning the loss of like losing its occupants, of being forgotten, of the warmth that has been brought in. And so there is this kind of mourning that's happening of the house, because when Grace came in, she was painting like little flowers and things in this house that had been so long neglected by its true owner. And so then we go into the story where it kind of turns around and backtracks a couple years and a couple months and things of that nature, looking at the life of each woman that's living in the house. And so first we kind of get Nora. And Nora, she's the daughter of like I believe an Irish police officer, and she has seen kind of corrupt police officers. Her brother constantly comes and like takes money off of her without her having any say in it. So what little money she gets through her job, she has a good job in good standing. She really works hard. Usually her brother or her family step in and take that away from her. So the only thing she really has is this boarding house life that gives her this like small amount of independence. Well, then during her like side job, which is as a waitress, she meets a man who seems very rich, but also kind of has a bit of a dicey side. And she's intrigued by it, but also kind of put off by it because she knows that kind of personality and does not want to entangle herself with it. However, she kind of likes the attention. She kind of likes that he could take care of her. I think a little bit of her likes the danger, but also she's really like, she's learned that that is not what she wants permanently. She's not sure if he could ever leave that life. If he ever could, maybe she could see herself with him, but that's just the whole thing about it. And so we do look at the book is built in parts. And so we get like part 1 is like Pete, part 2 is like Nora, then there's Rika. And so we go into different chapters like that as we explore the different occupants in the house. And as we explore the different occupants, we do see the differing personalities and the way each of these people view Miss Grace March, which usually is pretty positive, although some of it's a little bit more like, what is she hiding? Because each person kind of can perceive her in a different way. But also you see the life within like their like what they're also trying to work through as well. So there's Rika, and she is an elderly woman whose husband has passed. She came over as an immigrant, and when she came over, she had very few possessions, and there was one possession that she had that was of value. However, the like it was taken from her because it was like payment for getting her over here. It was like the one thing that was kind of taken from her, stolen from her, that the person like took as payment. So they really kind of abused the situation to like help her immigrate over. So they kind of like abused the situation in order to help her and her husband kind of immigrate over. Now, was it probably like, do I think it was done in the right way? Absolutely not. No, I don't think that. I think they took advantage of the situation and they took these people for all they were worth, and I think that's absolutely horrible. And I wish there had been, of course, and I think that happens still today. I think people absolutely abuse the immigration system today to like help people like find their place here, but then they take all of like their worldly assets, whatever little stuff that they have to try to start a life on, and then they leave them with nothing, and that's so sad. But anyway, we're not talking about presently, we're talking about the Briar Club. And then we have Fliss, whose husband is in the war as like a British, I think he's like a British doctor, and she's in the boarding house with her daughter, and she is pretty much, she's trying to be as perfect as possible. She's making cookies and trying to be this perfect mother, and she is about to have, and actually does have, pretty much a mental breakdown. She just cannot maintain this facade anymore. She wants her husband back. She cannot continue to do this anymore. It is breaking her mentally, and she needs some help and support, but she thinks she's supposed to do it on her own. So that's just how this story kind of rolls out, and it's so real and it's so personable, and I love the way that Kate Quinn describes these characters. And when we get to B is, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie League of Their Own, but Gina Davis's character is the one that I kind of like, that is the mental image I hold for B. She's a little bit rough around the edges. She's a little, like, she's gorgeous, but she's like rough around the edges. She's not gorgeous in this like lithe, feminine sort of way. She's gorgeous in this powerhouse, confident sort of way. And that's how I picture B. And so when one girl in the house, Arlene, that was mentioned in the summary, who she's a shit stirrer. She is a pot stirrer. She has a boyfriend at one point in the story, and anyway, the boyfriend ends up breaking up with Arlene, but later on ends up kind of dating B, and I think it's very interesting. I think Kate Quinn is phenomenal with her historical fiction. I love the way she captures the characters and each of their individual stories that weave together so incredibly well. I love that the house itself has a bit of like not only atmosphere but personality. So, I mean, I think this book is well worth a read. Per the reviews, I think a lot of other people would support me in this review as well. The interstitial chapters, like I said, if you just kind of look through, like even the glossary or the index, you're going to see that there's some interstitial chapters, and those are the ones that are kind of from the perspective of the house. I do want to thank NetGalley because they are the ones who provided me the advanced reader copy. Now, of course, this is getting released after the book has already come out, but I still did receive an advanced reader copy. I did provide my honest review, and I still am providing my honest review about this book. But I'm going to let the mystery play out for you. When you read this book, I'm not going to talk to you guys about the mystery because I think the lives that are intertwined are so incredibly intriguing that as you start to pick apart all the things that are going on, that is the greatest part about this mystery. Because there is drama, there's historical fiction, and you do, until you reach back to those interstitial chapters, you kind of forget there is a mystery going on. Not in a bad way. I just think that she does such a great job really encapsulating those characters and their stories and developing them and giving them their due time, that the mystery becomes the secondary storyline and not so much the primary storyline. I think the characters take center stage, and the mystery of the demise of Grace March, though very important character, is a little bit of a secondary story. And again, not in a bad way. Not a bad thing at all. Like, I absolutely gave this review 5 stars. So wanted to let you guys know, when I realized I had not done an episode for this book, I wanted to go back and correct that, because I really liked this book, and I think I'm going to need to go back and find some more of Kate Quinn's books. I know my book club back in Georgia not too long ago had read a Kate Quinn book, and I didn't get to show up for that particular meeting, but from what I was to understand, the book got some fantastic reviews from the club itself. So I knew I needed to jump on this book when it came out, and plus the cover is beautiful. Like, it's a keyhole with the flowers, and the flowers like represent what Grace March was painting on the walls and such throughout the house. And Grace March's history, her past, is very mysterious. We don't know a lot about her past because we don't really get a ton of her history until later on. We don't really get a full picture of her past because she doesn't talk about it. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you'll like and subscribe so we can continue to talk about books some more. And until next time, I hope I will see you on the next page. Have a great one. Bye.